Meanwhile, a Democratic congressman says that if the lawmakers can't get their job done, get a budget bill out there. That's one of the things that is in their job description. They haven't been able to do it for 2011. He believes they should not get paid during a government shutdown and that there should be no retroactive pay for them either for the job not done. And he joins us now. That man is Utah Democrat Congressman Jim Matheson. Good to have you with us this morning, sir. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, good to be here.
You know, do you get a lot of opposition to this idea? Or, I mean, are there folks who say, yeah, we should get paid even though we haven't put forth a budget and we're going to let the government shut down?
I haven't heard any opposition yet, but I also haven't heard a willingness for the House to bring up the bill. You know, the Senate passed this unanimously. And so I'm anxious to have the Speaker schedule this for a vote because I think Congress ought to share in the sacrifice. And if there is a government shutdown, other people are getting hurt by it. I think Congress ought to feel the pain as well.
So you have not heard from John Boehner on this issue or anybody else?
Have not heard from him. That's who the letter was directed to the Speaker to schedule the vote. Again, it passed the Senate. All senators voted for it. No opposition. Bipartisan support. We ought to do the same in the House.
Now, what about the question of the military? Because we've heard from some members of the military, and I urge people to tweet me about this at Martha McCallum, because would the military be paid during a government shutdown, as you understand it?
That's my understanding. We need to be careful about what would happen in a shutdown and what wouldn't happen in a shutdown. And when it comes to essential service like defense of our country, we're not going to shut that down. That's not going to happen. So we got to make sure we don't owe for this. And by the way, I hope the shutdown doesn't happen. I don't think anyone wins with a shutdown. But if it does happen, I want to make it clear there's some people in Congress who think a shutdown would be a good thing to happen. Then Congress ought to feel the pain as well. And that's why I'm suggesting we should have a vote on this so Congress doesn't get paid during a shutdown.
Now, let me ask you this. It's my understanding that in the 1995 shutdown situation, a lot of these agencies were sort of pre-funded, and they were able to continue operating during the shutdown. But because we don't have any budget for 2011 at all, a lot of things would – tell me, what would automatically shut down? What would we all notice instantly if this happens?
First of all, you're right. It's different than 95. I wasn't here in 95, but it was different than that because some appropriations bills have been passed. In this case, again, it's going to be more far-reaching because no agencies have their funding. But the essential service, national security, those types of things are going to continue. But, you know, when it comes to the Park Service and Department of Agriculture programs, all those things are just going to have to come to a halt.
Well, you know, Republicans say that Democrats need to cut more. You heard Kristi Noem. She said, when I go back home, they don't understand how we could possibly be arguing about, and I did the numbers on this, it's about 0.6% of the federal budget. This is what you folks in Washington can't get together on? 0.6%?
You know, you raise a fair point. It's ridiculous we're having this discussion. Quite frankly, this is a spending over about a 6-month period. There are much bigger issues on the table we ought to be talking about if we really want to deal with the deficit. I've always advocated let's get everything on the table that really matters.
Yeah, but then why not raise the Democratic number? Why don't you guys go north of $61 billion? You know, why not do that?
I think, again, you ought to be looking, we're looking at a little slice of the budget pie. It's going to have real impact on a lot of programs. And I think $30-some-odd billion for the next 6 months is a lot of money. And I think beyond that, we ought to have a discussion about the real big issues, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, defense. Those issues aren't even on the table today. And if we really want to get a handle on the deficit, everybody knows in Washington you got to deal with those issues.
All right. Well, a lot of people believe that it's a very minuscule amount, $33 billion, when you look at what we're seeing and what they're cutting in New York State, 2% right off the top without a big problem, it appears. So I thank you for your time, and we want to follow up on that and see whether or not Congress would get paid during a shutdown. Interesting issue. Good to have you here today, sir. Thank you.